welcome. On cue. Keith starts laughing. Hey, this is Uncle Sugar's Magic Circus. We're here today to talk about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But what we usually try to do on this show is, respond very quickly to our fans. Very recently we got a letter, I know.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we address people's concerns and issues, without any triggering events.
Yeah. No,
we don't like triggering people at all.
give us a hug.
Not at all.
Actually, it's interesting because you know how much trouble I've been having with the post office because of all the mail we're getting. Due to the supply chain stuff, I'm down to like 2,500 letters a day now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because of the supply chain
That's
issues.
almost nothing.
It's almost nothing for us.
You read that on the toilet.
Uh-huh. It's a battle issue, so. Actually, we had, because of the birthday and everything, I'm going to read 2 letters today because they're actually very interesting. First one is, Dear Sal and Keith, love the show, but you assholes will never be as famous as I am. Cool story. Recently, while in Afghanistan, this guy's handwriting is terrible. While in Afghanistan, my Osprey was shot down. We were captured by Japanese Marines and I was beheaded. Luckily, Chesty Puller contacted General Custer and they sent a rescue team. We had to escape and evade the Maori tribesmen. On the way out, only to my extreme navigational abilities we were able to get back. Upon return to the United States, President Lincoln wanted to award me the Medal of Honor, which I refused because I'm that cool. Peace out, your friend Peter Jennings.
I was going to say Joe Biden.
It's Peter Jennings.
I'm glad he went to SEER school.
Yeah, absolutely. The second letter is a little more succinct. In remembrance of the United States Marine Corps birthday, I'm calling to tell you that I am celebrating. I don't care what you assholes say. I am a Marine, na boo-boo. Just because I didn't finish boot camp, that doesn't mean shit. Your pal, Dan Rather.
Oh.
Huh. Interesting. He seems a little angry there. And also, lastly, a shout out to the boys in the Teufelhunden chapter of the original Leathernecks Motorcycle Club who were watching our show in their clubhouse Wednesday night while they're celebrating the Marine Corps birthday.
I'm very sorry.
These things happen.
Marines.
I think it was an alcohol incident.
So it sounds like I heard somewhere in that convoluted first letter something about tilt rotor aircraft?
Yes.
Like V22 Osprey, for example?
Mm-hmm.
Which that's, I think, what the question is, right?
Yeah.
Somebody wants to know something about V22.
Well, he doesn't. He knows everything. But
Yeah, well,
yes, I thought it would be a nice time. We should talk about it. We haven't talked about this piece of gear yet.
That's very true. So I got a friend of mine here today. It's Gunnery Sergeant Joe Romeo.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Yep.
and he's a tilt rotor aircraft mechanic.
Right on.
And so I thought maybe we'd celebrate all things VTOL. VTOL. Yeah, so Joe, welcome.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Glad
So
to be here.
the format of the show typically is we ask people to sort of explain their pathway to get into the Marine Corps as an opener. Like, what made you think, I'm going to join the Marine Corps?
So I was actually with a buddy of mine. I was in my beginning of my senior year of high school, and he was talking about joining the Army. He had graduated the year prior. So I went to the recruiter's office, and the Army was at chow. But the Marines were at work because the Marines chow is continuous, as we all know.
Yeah.
So I had joked, I was like, you don't want to join the Army. They're a bunch of, insert expletive. Go talk to the Marines. My grandfather was a Marine. Well, we both walk into the office. One thing leads to another. I joined the Marine Corps. He didn't. So this was back in 2002. I enlisted as a senior. Had no pathway. Didn't like to get up early and go to school, so I figured, why not join the Marine Corps?
Nice.
When I tell my junior Marines that one, they kind of look at me as like, Gunny, what do you mean you didn't like to get up early, but you joined the Marines? And this is how it kind of turned out. So
V22 didn't get introduced really until 2004?
No, it was actually out prior to that, because
Yeah.
I had came into the program in 2004, and they had already been doing test and evaluation.
Okay, so you went right into you didn't go to the CH-46 community?
No, I didn't. I'm
Okay,
actually
cool.
a purebred V22 guy. When I enlisted, I joined to be a motor team mechanic to kind of follow in my grandfather's footsteps, but I don't have depth perception.
Ah.
And come to find out, you need to have depth perception to be a mechanic because they drive the trucks as well. I did not
Really?
know that. Yeah, I found that out.
Never heard of that before.
So I had to go back to MEPS, talk to the liaison. I got aviation mechanic, so went to Pensacola, and we all got V22s out of my class. So
Yeah, and so you're an airframes mechanic,
I'm an
right?
airframe
So what
mechanic.
types
What is
of,
that?
yeah, what types of things does an I know the answer. This
You
is a
know.
leading
he
question,
knows the
right?
answer. So
But yeah, what types of things does an airframe mechanic work
For
on?
me, everything hydraulic actuation and structural. So I deal with anything carbon fiber, fiberglass, metalwork, rivets, latches, and then any flight control that's hydraulic.
And inspections, probably.
And tons of inspections.
Tons of inspections, yeah.
And you gotta sign those inspection sheets.
Yeah, you sign a lot of stuff. And as you build up, and obviously you know this, but as you build up, you get your qualifications. So you start off as the junior guy with the toolbox that just turns the wrench.
Yeah.
And then you kind of move on up to the guy that's actually inspecting the job that the junior Marine does and signing off that job. So.
And not that, but you know, we do this so people out in TV land may not know these answers. Why do we do that? Why do we have those inspections and the sign-offs? What's the process there?
There's nowhere to pull over up there, so you have to definitely have that safety check.
Yeah.
So
if your check engine light comes on, it's not like you're going to pull over to the side of the cloud.
no,
Fun park for a few minutes while you check it out.
Yeah.
So he said it right. The air wing is weird, man. So I did almost 9 years, right, from corporal to staff sergeant as a airframes mechanic as well. But I was on a different V-stall platform.
When they first came out, everybody ducked every time they flew over because it kept falling out.
Yeah, no, it's funny you say that because that's kind of what my segue was going to be, right? So a lot of problems with this airframe, the Harrier in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because they had stability issues when the thing was in the hover, so they were crashing them a lot. Like a lot of people were getting hurt and killed.
Yeah.
So it got a really bad reputation for the first, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years
At least.
before, it started.
Marines, no good joke can ever die, so they went on for years.
Yeah.
If one flew over,
Carolina lawn dart, right?
oh yeah.
But the thing that was missing for them was called they added a new electronic system called the Stability Augmentation and Attitude Hold System, right? So what this is a fly-by-wire system. For those who don't know what that is, if everything is mechanical, it's all up to the pilot's input to fly the plane.
Yep.
And what was happening was these pilots were getting into an oscillation because they were overcompensating when they were making corrections.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'd get into this situation
When
where
your car's fishtailing.
yeah, basically like your car is fishtailing. That's
Yep.
exactly right. So long setup, right? But they eventually figured it out, and this platform became super stable and very, and really, I would say the accident rate went way down.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that, exactly why I mentioned that,
Yes.
because the Osprey had a lot of the similar issues in the beginning with crashes and,
Yes.
Yeah.
and problems. So what do you know about that, Joe? Can you tell us about how that worked out?
Yeah, coming up through, I can't speak on obviously exactly what the causes of those crashes were, and there's a lot of things that went into those investigations. But test evaluation for any platform, just like what the Harrier went through, was like with the CH-46. A lot of those aircraft came off the assembly line, kind of went straight into Vietnam. So if a plane crashed, it was considered a war-related crash, and a lot of times where they crashed, you didn't go in to investigate.
Okay.
With the Osprey, we were kind of the not the dog and pony show, but I guess you could say the new hotness that was coming out. And everything was highlighted.
And it was peacetime development, so you couldn't
Yeah.
hide any of your crashes on.
So anything that happened, it was, oh my gosh. But when you really look at unfortunately, the Harrier has taken more lives than the Osprey has. And when it comes to the safety of what aircraft, so the V22 does have the highest safety rating for aircraft out there. And that's the crazy thing is that we still always got demonized as the widowmaker. And
Problem is, a couple of those crashes were high vis because I was still in
Yes.
the Marine Corps then,
Yeah.
because there was a bunch of people in the back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys with clipboards and lab coats, and all of a sudden this thing goes down. And the other part of that testing, which is interesting, because when I was at SOTGs, your new platform, you got to figure everything out again. Can we fast rope out of this thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Can we rappel out of this thing? Can we parachute out of this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What parachutes are going to work? Can we, do a dope on a rope, or do we have to all go free
Yeah.
fall, or how are we going to figure this out? And all of that testing
Yeah.
goes in as well. And oh, by the way, we're not sure the plane's flying correctly.
Yeah.
Well, it's
So-
like SAR, we had a hoist system right by our cabin door. And if you think about the Osprey, when it's in a hover, you have these two big nacelles with these Rolls-Royce motors blowing down that rotor wash and that exhaust. It just didn't work, so they ended up moving it to the tail.
Well, it's like when we were doing water extracts out of recon. They throw the rope out with 46 is easy. You clip in, and they take you up.
Yeah.
Got really interesting with 53 because of the washdown.
Oh,
By the
yeah.
time the Osprey came,
Yeah.
you're going to drown everybody. The down force is too great. So now what do we do?
Yeah.
So do we have to figure out a way to have this capability? And all the earth pigs are going, I'm not getting that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So, but what it brings up another point I was thinking about too, in talking about this today is Osprey is designed to replace the CH-46, right? The CH-46 was an insert platform primarily, designed
Yeah.
to bring dudes from the ship
And haul
to
junk
the
within
shore,
reason.
haul junk, yeah, absolutely. There's some external lift capability,
Mhm.
not as much as the 53, but the idea was get people, the distance between the ship and the shore, or go into an
It was a
embassy
pickup
with people.
truck.
That's a
Yeah.
pickup truck, exactly. But the Osprey offers so much more because of the tilt rotor capability,
Mhm.
which gives it an
Long range
incredible
speed.
range,
And
right?
and the range, that's really it.
Yeah.
It's standoff distance for the ships from the shore.
A little bit more lift, no, a lot more lift, a little bit more load capacity in
Yeah.
terms of
Mhm.
people, and then the range is just, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I want to say it's
I
something like 800 miles, 700 and something miles.
I think it's around with full bags. I'd have to look that one up
Yeah,
to be for
just- I
certain.
mean,
But yeah,
standard.
I'd say 450 miles on
Okay.
full bags.
Yeah.
And you would never really deplete it. You wouldn't go bingo of fuel. But the one thing we noticed too, like going into Al-Assad in '07 when we were in Iraq, we replaced the 53s out there doing all of their PMC runs and getting everything out to the guys in the field. And we would be able to do 2 to 3 runs in the time it took for 153 to do one run. And the ag wasn't ready for us. Like our planes were coming back, like, hey, we're ready to pick up more stuff. They're like, we weren't expecting y'all for another hour.
Yeah.
Agdag.
Ag. The acronym for that one, it beseeches me right now, but
I'll-
you know what
I'll
I'm
look
talking
it up.
about, like,
Yeah.
yeah.
The guys putting the junk
The
on
guys
the
putting
bird.
the birds, yeah.
Yeah.
Put the boxes on the birds.
Yeah.
But yeah, our crew chiefs would come back and tell us, like, yeah, they weren't ready for us. We had to wait because they're in there playing Xbox, like, oh, we got another hour till the plane comes back to pick up more stuff. And all of a sudden, Osprey's like, hey, we're here. They're like, you guys been gone 20 minutes. How did you make it to that
There and
Bob
back,
site
right?
and back?
Amazing.
And you climb to 14,000 feet in an
Yeah.
Osprey with crew on oxygen, and all you have is external cargo, and you're gone.
Yeah.
280 knots, if not more, if you get a good tailwind.
Yeah.
So it ranges longer, it's faster, it goes higher, it carries more.
Yeah.
So I mean that's
But other than
it,
that-
it sells itself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So aside from the fact that it had issues, in its nascent stages as it was up and coming, it's become really a really solid platform for the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
It really extends our reach quite a bit. And I was on the MEU that was the first MEU to have Ospreys deploy on the boat
Okay.
in 2009, 2010.
Mhm.
Yep.
And we brought them over, and basically we did a full deployment, and at the end we launched the planes off. We had to do a detail, because I was an intelligence officer at that time, we had to do a detailed flight study of the route between, because they went from the Indian Sea across portion of Pakistan and up into Afghanistan. And then the pilots dropped the planes off
Yeah.
and left, and then a new squadron fell in on those planes.
Fell in on there.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that squadron ended up doing that deployment with those same planes.
Yeah.
I didn't realize we would have been on the boat together. I was with VMO 263 because they did the first Iraq deployment and then the first MEU. And
Look over there on that wall. I got a 263.
I
Yeah,
see that.
Thunder
That's
chickens, man.
I was
That
with them
that
in Iraq, and
no
when we
kidding.
came back, I went back to the training squadron,
Look at
and I
that.
wanted to go on the first MEU. So I heard that MEU was they got the swine flu on that MEU.
They did,
So
yeah, it
I
was
heard that
crazy.
was terrible. A lot of my Marines were telling me about it. They're like, oh,
It was crazy. Everyone was sick, and we ended up
Yeah.
missing a couple of ports on the way out. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. We sat on the boat for 45 straight days. Everybody
That
said.
makes everybody happy.
But yeah, it was an interesting thing. So you did it. So all right, let's go back to you. Right. So you got out of boot camp and you went off to Pensacola. Or would you say what
You go to
training?
Pensacola, Florida first for your A
Yeah.
school, and then I came here to Jacksonville, North Carolina
Yeah.
for my C school for my actual V22 Airframes training.
Okay.
So
and
because
then
Pensacola is just your
which squadron did you go to?
I went to VMX 22, so the only squadron we had on New River. So we had maybe 6 aircraft, I think, at the time when I got there. They were the test and evaluation squadron. So
Okay.
we did everything from let's fly to this air show to let's go out to Vegas for a month and a half, which as a Lance Corporal, when they say you're going on a debt to Vegas for a month and a half, and here's $60 a day per diem. I'm like, woo, I made it. So I was kind of spoiled the first,
Yeah.
2 years of my career.
I believe I can survive
I
on
can do
$30 a
this.
day.
Yeah. Well, how many times if I do this and that, $59 in my pocket.
Yeah,
do
McDonald's
whatever I
has a
want.
$2
Box of ramen.
2 sandwiches for $2. Let's see, that'll solve it.
But yeah, no, that was my first 2 years of it was going through the test evaluation. So go through all the different training sites, working with every different unit that they had, and like you were talking about, like check it out for SAR, see what it can do, this, that, and the other. And then after that, we stood the training squadron back up because they had been shut down because the crash that happened in Arizona.
Okay.
And that was the one that took the 19 lives. That was the big one that hit the media and all over Time Magazine, and big chaos going on with that one. But we'd stood training squadron back up, and then I got to go to 263. That was my first
Okay.
squadron. So I call that my alma mater
Yeah.
because I'm a blank owner of VMM.
Oh, you're
Thunder
OG
Chicken.
in the community.
Yeah.
You've been around from the beginning. I get it.
I get a lot of guys. They're like, "Oh, did you work on the 46?" I'm like, "Nope, I'm just purebred Osprey guy."
Yeah.
So actually, the funny story on that one is a buddy of mine he'll retire around the same time I do. About 18 months from now, we'll be retired. But we will be the first purebred V22 airframers to retire that never worked on the 46. Because
Interesting.
when we came through the classes, all the guys that were prior to us were either lat movers or unfortunately they just decided not to retire because they were like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're sticking it out.
Well, it's weird, man, because go back to some of the earlier episodes. I'll tell my story about like how I ended up joining the Marine Corps and stuff. But it was 46 cats. I was working at a weird little company, Blair Industries is what it was called, but it was up in New York, and they made Sikorsky helicopter landing gear. And so 3 of the dudes I worked with there, and by the way, I didn't fix landing gear. I dipped them in fucking MEK. I was the MEK dipper. And I masked the parts off for painting. I didn't even paint. I wasn't.
You were
I was
wearing
like
PPE when you were doing it.
Yeah,
'cause that
sure.
stuff-
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I was like, whoa,
I don't know why he doesn't have 2 heads.
Yeah.
That stuff is terrible.
I do actually. Ask my wife. Trigger. Anyway, so I mean, I was kind of indoctrinated to join the Marine Corps by CH-46 guys. Isn't that weird? So it's almost kind of like a little historical moment. Anyway,
That's cool.
Nobody cares. Shut up, Sal. Moving back to you. So you go to the Thunder Chickens,
Yep.
and is that where you deployed to Iraq?
That's where we deployed to Iraq. We went into Al Asad in 07
Yeah,
08.
tell us about that deployment.
Yeah. Oh, that was a blast. I will say, looking back after all the other deployments in the Muse and everything, that deployment was the most fun when it came to we didn't have Wi-Fi, you didn't have smartphones. Not a whole lot of people had. You didn't pull your phone out of your pocket and play games when you were bored. So it was back to the old days of playing spades and all the
Reading
fun
Louis
stuff.
L'Amour novels.
Yeah, it was still Camp Cupcake though, because Al Asad, I'm sure you've visited. So we had a Burger King and a Pizza Hut and some really good defects. So I do not complain about that deployment. at all.
Look, that's cool, man.
So.
Like, if you don't know this, America is the most powerful country in the world. We literally bring our fast food restaurants with us to war.
To war, yes.
That's
Yes,
fucking
we do.
power projection if I've ever fucking heard of it.
Green bean coffee. You can,
Yeah.
Any Marine that's deployed.
And
can
it's
tell
like
you
it's like the village circus where they do it too. It's like everybody's out somewhere. They set up this, and you go down there. It's like Marines milling around, munching cheeseburgers or stuff like. It's just surreal. Where's Rod Sterling when you need him?
Yeah,
In the middle of the desert.
It's always surreal. But you know what? That's the funny thing. Coming because I ended up getting talked into joining the Marine Corps from air wingers, but I ended up not being an air winger when I first came in. Right? I went right to force.
Yeah.
And so I did a lot of field time, and so I'd come in. I'd always be like looking at the air wing. I could worked very closely with the air wing.
Yeah.
Back then, we did a lot of fast roping and jumping out of airplanes and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I hung out with a guy. Actually, if I can get him on, I'll try to get him on. Butch Boatwright was staff sergeant on the squadron. It was 163, I believe. 163, 164. I forget.
63 probably.
Yeah, 163, and he and I hung out a lot. And he actually was one of the reasons why I ended up doing the lat move to the wing, because he like talked me into it. It was so much fun. Like, you guys have a lot of fun. What people don't know is there's also a lot of work.
There's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a 24-hour-a-day operation.
And nobody realizes it.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, the hours throw people off. I've worked with a bunch of former 0311s that came over to the air wing or whatever other MOS they came from that was a little bit different. They're like, man, you guys just never quit working. Like, we had a sergeant major one time get on a lance corporal because he saw him upstairs in the hallway at 8 o'clock at night asking him why he was there. And he's like, started giving him the right, up one side, down the other. And the kid's like, Sergeant Major, I'm at work. And he's like, why are you here? And he goes downstairs and realized there was a whole night crew.
There's a whole night crew turning wrenches.
He the next day apologized to the Marine in front of all of us. Like, hey, I didn't realize. He was like, I come from a different breed. He's like, I never thought about this whole night crew aspect of the air wing side.
Yeah.
And it's just mind-boggling the hours that it is a 24/7 job.
It is a 24/7 job. The flight schedule drives everything in the air wing, and basically there's we've talked about this before, right?
Yeah.
And you know this as an OPSO as well. There's 4 turn 2 for Harriers is how they work. It'd be 4 turn 2 turn 1 maybe if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And that would actually turn into a 4 turn 1 probably very quickly because they break, man. That's just how it works. Airplanes fly,
Well,
they break.
it's the wrench to fly ratio. Some of the birds, that's one of the reasons everybody liked the 46 so well.
Yeah.
Because they were indestructible.
Yeah.
And they'd fly broken. And the old gag about if the floor is not covered with hydraulic fluid, don't get on it. It means it's empty.
Yeah.
If you're sliding around on the floor, the bird's good to go.
Yeah.
And you're trying to jump out the back, and you're like skidding down, that fall off the ramp, at 5,000
And
feet.
there's always a drip of oil hitting you from
In the
somewhere.
head.
What the hell is going on?
But yeah,
What's the maintenance to flight hour ratio look like for you guys?
Maintenance man hour to flight hour for us, I would, if I were to be a guessing man, I would say is close to 28 to 30 hours per flight hour of
Yeah.
actual maintenance. I know, like I'm not sure what the Harriers was, but like the 46, I'd be willing to bet was maybe 15 to 20 tops
Yeah.
if you were lucky. But like you said, it was indestructible.
It was really, the Osprey was really,
yeah.
I'm sorry, the Harrier was really high.
Yeah.
Really high maintenance hours.
But again, it's new technology. Always, it's like that first Corvette out of the box when they changed the series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't never buy a '68 Corvette. That mentality. So you have a brand new piece of gear. Well, now once it's been around for 20 years, all the gunnies, the mechs, you're training kids on it's this, that. Don't worry about that. I know what it says in the manual. This is what's
Yeah.
really happening.
Yeah.
Do this, do that, do that. And you can watch these guys. It's like watching a choreography.
Yeah.
Kind of
Oh
a
my
dance
God,
as
yeah.
they're moving
Yeah.
through, and the earth pigs are kind of sitting there waiting to get on the plane, watching this. This shit's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
It really is. And everybody knows exactly what their little lane in the road is and everything. So that leads me to another question. This is one that's been ongoing, I know, for a long time. Let's talk about lethality for a second. So, one of the things that the CH-46 was a delivery platform, right?
Mhm.
That means sometimes into combat, and it would have a couple of guns on there. And
A couple door gunners.
Typically, they would go out the side doors.
Yep.
Not really possible on the Osprey, right? So they talked about a couple of different solutions for that.
There's a couple.
Where are we on all that?
Yeah, the belly gun system, the DWS system that we have, and then the ramp gun system, so 240 or the 50 cal, and then there is some testing going on with some rocket pods as well. So
Okay.
trying to up armor it a little bit and give it a little bit more firepower. But no matter what, I think any platform that's a carrier platform, we're going to go in with air support. You're going to bring in your C-130 gunship, or you're going to have your Cobras go ahead of you.
Yeah.
That was one thing we noticed too in Iraq was all the stories I would hear from all the guys that would go to the planning meetings is we're going to send the Cobras and the Hueys out 45 minutes to an hour prior to the Ospreys because we need time to get there, because if not, they're going to pass us.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
makes sense. I mean, that aircraft wasn't designed for speed. It was designed to level your neighborhood.
So it becomes a sequencing issue now this becomes an ops question, right?
Yeah,
Now you start laying
absolutely.
things out, you're starting to sequence things out on the
And when do I want this destruction to happen?
Yep.
Yeah.
And you got to do that backwards time.
Yeah. Yep.
The other thing about that is if I got troops in control.
Yeah.
Now, hang on. The Cobras are on the way, but the guys are going to get you out at 45 minutes behind that because otherwise we're going to have this passing issue.
Yeah.
And now you have troops in distress who need an immediate extract.
And then the
Yeah,
other thing is the slower moving, support aircraft often might need a FARP for the
Yeah.
distances that you're talking about. So if you're
What's a FARP, Sal?
Yeah, so a FARP is a forward arming and refueling point, which means
Yep.
you're putting
Earth pigs.
earth pigs and other support dudes
Yeah.
on the ground in a location that's probably halfway between,
Yeah.
or in a safe place
They're
somewhere.
in Indian country.
Yeah.
Basically.
You got to provide security on that too.
And then
Yeah.
the slower moving airplanes might go out and hit the target and then hit the FARP on the way back.
Yeah.
Or they might hit the FARP
It gets-
and be freshly loaded
Yeah.
up before they go and do
Yeah.
their attack. Well,
It gets
depends on how you
confusing
wanna
as
play it
fuck.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's a
We laugh about that all the time when we were teaching MIQC, and we're teaching them how to teach certain kind of classes, guided discussion or whatever. And so I use the example of we were in a country in Africa, and the ambassador wanted us to do a practice NEO. What's a NEO, Sal?
non-combatant evacuation operation.
Yes. And so literally,
So
he
many
knew,
acronyms.
it was funny, he set his own staff up because his staff wouldn't listen to him, a bunch of Harvard
Kind of what we
educated.
just fucked up in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
did
exactly.
Really badly.
And I had all these, whiz kid, 28-year-olds, and they wouldn't listen to the ambassador who knew what was going to happen. So he set them up, and he brought us in. He goes, "All right, brief Major Carolinas is this." Well, they said, "Well, you guys bring your boats in, and then take your helicopters and fly out here, and then turn around and fly back." I was like, "Okay, stop. For starters, we don't go up there. We're going to be 20 miles out. So you just added 40 miles to your trip. Oh, by the way, the helicopters can't go from there all the way in, and this is in Uganda.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Uganda. It wasn't Uganda. Now I think about it. We were in Uganda.
Okay.
And, so he started showing them the distances. And then you have to have a FARP. What's a FARP? And they don't know. And this was, the 22 wasn't on that mule I was on.
Oh, okay.
So these are things this planning pieces nobody thinks about. It's, the helicopters come and get us. What do they have, like invisible gas? They're, you know.
Yeah.
They don't fly on hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Tesla. It runs on unicorn parts.
Yeah.
It's a
I'm
license
triggered.
now, shut up.
I'm triggered. That's funny.
Let's shove vegans into the gas tank.
So you said you did mute time as well on, with the V22s. So that's another fucking choreography thing,
Yeah.
right? So
Oh, yeah.
did you have Harriers on the deployment
Yep.
as well? Yeah. So if I remember right, usually the Harriers launch first, clear the deck, and then you start moving. No, I take that back. The Starbird always launches first.
Starbird always first, and a lot of times it was us,
Yeah.
and we would launch, and then we would have to do the combat pod walk down, make sure
Yeah.
everything was good, because
Yeah.
the vacuum cleaners had to take off,
Yeah.
and you do not want something to get sucked up in those motors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then Harriers, yeah.
Harriers are
Harriers.
fun.
And then your combat aircraft can launch, and they go into
Yeah.
holding pattern. And then your people carriers launch, and then they go into holding pattern. And then the combat launchers come back and refuel, and then they take. It's a crazy choreography.
And the thing is, when you're sitting in the back of the one, you know, if you're the Earth Peak getting transported, and you're cutting holes in the sky waiting for the refueling, like, all right, I'm betting my life as it is here. Can we please just get over land and put this fucking
Yeah.
thing on the ground?
Yeah.
Yes, that's another
Yeah.
interesting thing about the V22 is it can aerial refuel, right?
Yes, we can ever.
So you
refuel.
got that capability as well.
Yep.
So you really can stay up
We-
indefinitely.
And we can refuel other aircraft. We have a ground
really?
refuel defuel kit, so
Look at
we
that.
can actually hook up. We have external tanks you can put in the back of our aircraft, and a kit that if a Cobra needed to get into somewhere and they had to land at a FARP, the Osprey can be their FARP. And the
So
crew
you
chief
could
can fuel their
identify a
aircraft.
shit.
yeah.
Right
So
down
you
on the
could be a
ground.
flying FARP, and you could land somewhere. Oh my God, that's freaking.
That's
awesome.
pretty cool.
That's really cool.
I never knew that.
Yeah, now you just changed the whole dynamic of how
Sure.
you do
Yeah.
FARPs too.
And you
That's
can
cool.
carry your own security.
You just
Yeah.
have to plan it.
Yeah, the planning piece. I do have a funny story about your Harrier though. One time
Yeah.
we were on a Mew, 2014. We're in the middle of Ali Asaleen, Kuwait. Nighttime, we worked this noon to midnight shift, the tropical hours, because it was hot all day or cold at night, whatever the case may be, which is terrible all in of itself. But it was like 9 o'clock at night. We're in these tents, and a buddy of mine, another fellow staff sergeant I won't name, comes running in and goes, "Hey Joe, we got 2 Harriers landing. They each got 2 500-pounders on them. I've never disarmed them and I need help. You want to come with me?" And I hopped up, was like, "Sure." And my guys were like, looking at me, and I'm the staff sergeant at the time, they're like, "Wait a second, your buddy just said he has to go disarm 4 bombs that he has no clue how to do, and you're eager to go help?" I was like, "That's a Marine way." Like, obviously, it's quite simple to disarm him, and he did know what he was talking about, but it was just funny the way he came in. And my Marines just had like the wide-eyed, like, "Wait, what are you going to do?" But,
Cut the green wire, but first cut the red wire.
but yeah, it was.
Which is which? I'm colorblind.
It was good times, but
There's no wire cutting, by the way.
no, it's literally like flip a latch. It's not
We're
very
doing
complicated.
wonders for recruiting.
I know,
Mothers of America out there going out in the front yard with pitchforks.
That's
Wait,
awesome.
what? You want my son to be a Marine? You should have seen that day the recruiter came to my house.
Oh, what happened?
Oh, my mother loved that one. I've never put a woman in so many tears when I came home and said I was going to be a Marine. And what was the worst is that her father was a Marine. My mother was born at Hospital Point 1 on Camp Lejeune.
No kidding.
So
That's
the fact
probably
that her
why- that's
son
probably the
wanted to
issue.
be a Marine, yeah.
funny.
So what happened?
So that day we went and talked to the recruiter, and they were kind of going back in the timeline of Joe here, but went and talked to him, and he comes over to my house to talk to my mom. She's a ball of mess, and she calls my grandfather. "Look, I can't believe he wants to be a Marine." And my grandfather, rest in peace, Pops, but he was the epitome of what I thought a Marine should be. Like, he just always carried himself, the way he like stood and talked to people, and the way people respected him, and the way he showed respect. So me wanting to become a Marine emulated a lot of that. But I still remember the story. She was like, "I was on the phone with your grandfather, and I'm crying, telling him you want to be a Marine." He's like, "Wait, my grandson, who's never been arrested, doesn't do drugs, he's not in and out of jails, he does pretty good in school, wants to be a Marine. Like, what's the problem?" And I still remember her response, "Dad, that's not the answer I wanted." Well, so it turned out well. 18 plus years later, I'm still an active duty Marine. So
Dad,
you
that's
know,
not the answer I
That
wanted.
is not the answer I wanted.
but-
That's okay. When my wife first started dating me, her brother asked, and her brother was a State Department guy, so
Yep.
he was also the guy in charge of all the Marine security guards.
That,
RSO, thank
Oh,
you, Joe.
RSO.
Yeah,
Thank
he
you,
was
Joe.
a regional security officer for the State Department. So he was like, she's like, "Oh, I started dating the Marine." He's like, "Oh, what's next? You gonna hang outside the prisons and wait for him to get out?" That is not the answer I wanted either.
No. Oh.
That's funny. So, What boat were you on your Mew? You
I
did
was
one
on the
Mew or-
USS Baton on
You went
that
on the
Mew,
Baton?
and then I did 2 rides on the BHR, the Bonham Richard.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that boat's no longer
Rest
with
in
us.
peace,
yeah,
right?
rest in
Jeez.
peace. That was a good boat to us.
Yeah.
I was sad when I saw all that happen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I did a tour on the Baton as well.
The old rusty nickel. It's a
Yeah.
good boat.
Yeah.
It was supposed to go in and out of dry dock and get repairs probably 5-6 times, and they just kept sending it on deployment, and that boat held up. So.
Yeah. Any funny stories from the Mew?
The disarming of the 500 pounders
Yeah.
was fun. Lots of shenanigans on the boat. Obviously, you've been on the boat, so
Yeah, we told a couple stories. We had a whole episode on the Mew and how weird it is to live on the boat and how tight everything is and like the phantom shitter stuff. Let me guess, was there a phantom shitter on your boat?
there was
There always is. We ask every guy who comes on if they were on a Mew. Was there a phantom shooter on your Mew? And every guy goes, yes.
How did you know?
Yeah, they had put signs up in the berthing bathroom not to take shit in the showers and waffle stomping it down the drain. I never understood. I can't
Waffle
fathom.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And this is why when you first get on the boat, the first thing you do is buy 3 sets of fucking flip flops.
Yes.
Right.
And duct
99
tape.
cents.
And glue them all together so they're like that thick, so you
Yep.
don't have to touch your feet to anything.
Oh, yeah.
It's so disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh my
boat times.
So you worked with any foreign military stuff?
We did, yeah. And I actually, when I was at the schoolhouse, after coming back from that Mew, I went to the schoolhouse here and we taught the Japanese military because
Really?
they now have the V22.
Oh, really?
So, yep.
That's different. Tell us
Now,
about that.
what branch? I mean, it's all the self-defense force,
Yes.
but so they're naval guys.
They are, well, yeah, it's the, how do they put it? I mean, for us, it was just Japanese military. We got the enlisted and the officer crew that came over, but it was all the maintainers, so we didn't deal with any of the ground size.
Yeah.
But I will say, them coming through our courses, extremely intelligent and very hardworking.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's a big competition between, and this is kind of as we sit here, enlisted versus officer, obviously a Mustang aspect of it, but
Why not both?
yeah, why not both? I had an officer and an enlisted, an E7 and an 04 in my class, or sorry, 03 in my class, and the competition between testing and labs was very interesting to see because the way their culture is officers cannot
Fail.
you cannot fail, you cannot be beaten out by your enlisted.
Yeah.
So it was always a neck and neck, and I mean just phenomenal maintainers, and I wish them the best with the Osprey. I think they'll do great with it, but so.
Yeah.
Got to give our allied forces some of that awesome long range.
So you're CDI?
I was I did
QASO or
CDI,
QA?
CDQR, so Collateral Duty
QA,
Inspector, Collateral Duty Quality Assurance Representative,
Yeah.
and then I was in QA, I was a Quality Assurance Representative.
Okay.
And now I'm a Safe for Flight, so now I'm
Okay.
the last guy that signs the paperwork before the pilot signs for his aircraft. So.
Okay. So let's talk about that hierarchy a little
Yeah,
bit for a
yeah,
second. So
yeah.
when we use these acronyms, CD, Collateral Duty Inspector, and QA, et cetera. So to just walk us through what that means and how that dominance hierarchy works out.
So you start off basic maintainer. You're the wrench turner. As you build up your qualifications and your experience, you get your sign-offs. You work up to your collateral duty inspector, which gives you a certain broad, or not broad, but a certain narrow spectrum of the aircraft of what you can and cannot inspect and sign off. And then as you work up as a collateral duty inspector,
Now just hang there for a second,
Yeah.
because in the pub, like everything is done by the pub
Yeah.
in
Yes.
the air wing. You go step by step in the pub.
4790.
Yep. And then there'll be a part in there where it says stop, and it'll say collateral duty inspection. And somebody
Yeah.
has to look at the work that you've done.
Sign it off.
And sign it off. And then there's a electronic program.
Oh yeah. We have the IAMs, the integrated technical electronic maintenance systems, and then all of our pubs
Meticulous
are-
records.
Yeah,
Everything
all
is
of ours,
recorded.
yeah.
Yep. Everything has to be signed off, and every
Yep.
step that in the pub that says.
Because
it's
if God forbid
signed.
that thing goes in a drink,
Yep.
they're coming right back.
So there's
Yeah.
portions that get signed off by
Yeah.
the CDI, and then okay, back to you.
So portions sign off by CDI, what torques you can witness, but that gives you that range because as a CDI for like the Osprey, you cannot work on a flight control because it's a little bit more flight critical. As you build up that experience and that time in, and you've reached that level, you get more sign-offs, and then you get your QA, your quality assurance. And now you work for the quality assurance department, and you've moved up to where you can pretty much sign off everything pertaining to your MOS on that aircraft.
Okay.
And then I'm not sure if you ran across guys that were like full systems where they can do it all for every different MOS on the aircraft, and they become QAs and they can sign off pretty much anything. And you are the inspector. That's the biggest thing. Is
Yeah.
I take this bottle, I replace this bottle. How much torque did that bottle take? and then you're the one that signs it off, and you're doing all the paperwork. So
Now, if that plane goes and crashes and the investigation comes back, they're gonna go through and they're gonna look at things like that to see if
Yep.
the part that caused the
Matched.
accident, you know,
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
right part, it had the right serial number, had the
Yeah.
right torques, it was properly installed, all that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it becomes really important because when things go catastrophically wrong, you
And
know,
this all sounds swell on paper. The problem is now it's 2 in the morning, and the pilot's got to get in the air at 3 in the morning, and everybody's grumpy and having sleep,
yeah,
and everybody's like breathing down your neck. Get the plane in the air. Get the plane in the air.
Yeah.
Get the plane in the air.
yeah.
It's not done yet. We can't shortcut it. So we goddamn, we got to get the plane in the air.
Yeah.
And then that kind of friction.
It does, and that's where that flight schedule, you know, I said earlier, right? So it's we're gonna fly 4 airplanes, they're gonna come back, they're gonna get what's called a turnaround inspection, then we're gonna fly 2 again, right? Well, if they come back and 3 of them are down, you're not flying a 4th turn 2, it's just not happening.
Yeah,
The
no.
flight
Yeah.
schedule you get bumped, right? And you can't fly that. And that's where the maintenance officer who kind of orchestrates the whole
Yeah.
squadron's like activities
Yeah.
becomes like a flaming asshole.
Yeah, everybody hates his guts.
Yeah. Well,
Including
they have to. You
The
know?
earth pigs who were sitting there waiting for a bird.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, late again. Or you know,
Yeah. I mean that's part
heaven
of the
help you
nature
if
of
you don't
these.
show up for a parachute jump. If I got a parachute on my back and I'm waiting for you to show up, and when I get the call, the plane's not coming, we're getting in cars to go down there and kill somebody.
It is frustrating to sit on the
Yeah.
tarmac for hours and hours in the hot
Yeah.
sun or the rain or the winter
Oh, yeah.
cold or whatever it is, waiting for the plane, and then they come over and they're like, bad news, guys. Go ahead and take your gear off.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. Well, and that's something too to
Fucking air wing.
dang wingers, our long hair.
Drinking breakfast, eating
Yeah.
steaks all day,
Right.
sons of
Yeah.
bitches.
It's hard to in that big picture that y'all gentlemen were just talking about, whereas you have everything is orchestrated and planned out to a T, and then something goes wrong, and it's that domino effect of
Yeah,
okay, this
absolutely.
aircraft went down, now we've lost this support, and this support was only good until 1300, and now it's 1400, and we don't have that support anymore, and we have to jump through
Domino
hoops to
effect,
get it.
because things happen all day and all night long, and heaven
Yeah.
forfend, now you're in a combat zone.
Oh,
All bets are off, because if somebody is in extremis, then everything changes.
Yeah.
So, 2-7's not getting a resupply run today, because we got to pull a recon team out who's about to get fucking overrun.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to juggle that.
Yeah.
And the mechanic's got to be woken up after sleeping for 12 minutes. Hey, you got to get back to work on the plane.
Yeah.
Because we need the plane.
And for more senior guys that have been through it, we understand it more and we get it. We're still going to grumble about it no matter what, because it's just
Yeah.
what we do. Marines.
It's your right as a Marine.
Just complain, but I think it's that collective. We all deal with the suck together that makes us the That's what camaraderie really is. Everybody embracing the suck together. But trying to get the junior Marines that are coming up to those next qualifications,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that big picture mentality of, oh, okay, well, if I wanted to go take a smoke break and drink a Monster instead of getting out on this priority aircraft that I need in an hour, now you have 45 minutes to get this aircraft fixed, or
Mhm.
maybe 30 minutes. You just lost that time that is a maintenance effort, which is, touch time, hands-on aircraft of actually fixing it, which could mean the difference between hopefully not life and death, but at least the mission actually taking place
Yeah.
the way it was planned.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to get across to a 19, 20-year-old.
Yeah, it's true.
Mhm.
And let me just take this off track for just a second. Not only are they 19, 20 years old and they have an idea what they want to do, but they're also, let's be honest, like, all right, maybe it takes a little while to get to this point, but they can be kind of like an artist.
Yeah.
In the sense that when you're a metalsmith, like there's a talent to that.
Oh,
There's
yes.
a, there's an actual
Yeah.
art to that, right?
Mhm.
And so now you're also dealing with the personalities of people who are a little artistic,
Yeah.
right?
A
Not
little-
autistic, artistic.
A little eclectic.
And so what ends up happening is like they can get, especially if they're really good at what they do. I just remember this from my time at Airframes. Like they can get a little in their own head sometimes, where
yeah.
now you're managing because now you're a shop supervisor, right?
Yep.
So you're trying to manage personalities
Yeah.
as well,
And rushing them when they're trying to perfect their masterpiece.
Yeah.
right? And they're
Yeah,
working
yeah.
on this patch, and it's like it's got to be perfect, and it really does need to be perfect.
Yeah.
But they're like, they're getting a little bit too like in the
Yeah.
weeds on shit sometimes,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
It happens.
that over-the-shoulder supervision is, and I think that's the one big thing that makes us, in any MOS that's great, is that supervision. You can tell a great unit by how it's supervised. You don't have to micromanage. You just have to supervise. You have to be the one that's like that little,
Ask the question.
yeah,
That's all you do is
yeah.
ask the question.
Yeah.
I don't have to stand around and say, I want you to do this.
Yeah.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
Wow, okay, good bit.
Yep.
And I'll
Yeah.
kill you later.
Oh, and they take offense to it sometimes when you
Yeah.
ask them a question. Junior Marines is like, well, It's like, I wasn't trying to micromanage you. I'm asking because I need to know, because
not
people are
attacking
asking
you.
me,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to like
Yeah.
help you out. So
But you do have to be careful with that. I think I've told the story about the strakes before. But the strakes are a part on the bottom of the Harrier. It's like a big flat piece that replaces
Okay.
the guns. And when the Harrier hovers, it needs that box. It's got a flap that comes down the speed brake, and then it's got the two side pieces, and that creates this little box that it kind of sits on. Not really. I'm taking liberties with the mechanics or with the physics of this, but it's okay. Anyway, we were missing a strake for an airplane, so I, as a staff and CO, I was like, hey, I don't care what you do, you
Oh.
will go find me a strake. Right? You got to be careful sometimes.
I know. I've been
Did you
down
find me a
this
strake?
Yeah.
They're like, no strake. So I'm like, go find me a fucking strake.
path.
And yeah, they went to another squadron, and it's a serialized component.
STEEL is just an acronym.
Yeah, so when it's serialized components, it doesn't work as
Yeah.
well because there's a
As-
there's a
If
fucking
you're in any leadership position at all in the Marine Corps, you've gotten yourself in that jam. I do.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yep.
and oh, by the way, careless words. So I ended up with the most beautiful boathouse in the 1st Recon Battalion
yeah.
by saying, wouldn't it be cool if we could do something like this? And a week later, it would look like a construction site. And I was like, where did all this shit come from? Don't ask, boss. Everything's cool. I'm like, no, it's not.
It's a little less than cool right now.
Yeah. Marines inherently, you have to be very careful when you say, I
It
want to
is
see
true.
this done, and they will get it done.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. You will get it done. They're like,
Yeah.
you got it, boss.
Go forth and steal me stuff. I said that once during
Yeah.
Desert Storm.
Yeah, you gotta be
And they
careful.
did.
Oh.
And they got caught stealing shit from the Army.
Oh.
I mean, is it really stealing?
It's all work for the
We
government.
all work for the government. Like you,
They left it laying around.
Strategically
Reacquire- you're
transporting
acquiring
equipment to an
things.
alternate location.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how, yeah.
Gear adrift is a gift.
Yeah, well, that's true. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right, Joe. So what's next for you?
Retirement, hopefully.
Yeah.
The
Hey, wait.
squadron, yeah. Hope,
I'm
sorry,
curious.
go ahead.
Now, did you do a B billet?
I did not. No, I made
Is
it.
that normal for your MOS?
Oh, you lucky dog.
It's not. I got histed a bunch of times, unfortunately, because of like I went and gotten seen for migraines in 2006, so that automatically disqualifies you from being a drill instructor. Did not know that.
Headquarters Marine Corps screening team. That's
yeah.
where you get screened to
the
go
HIS.
on
Yeah,
recruiting.
sorry.
base.
That's what
That's
HIS
okay.
is.
I always try to help with the acronyms. People get a little.
Yeah, we can talk sentences. And
That's why we get letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. From Dan Rather
Dan Rather.
and President Lincoln.
yeah. Yeah, no, I tried to volunteer for a rebuild as well. I was going to go be a recruiter, and just every which way on the road, they pretty much told me no. So I stayed as an aviation mechanic, and then now I made it to the rank of gunny in 2018, and then now I'm about right around 18 months from stepping off on my elusive terminal and
Yeah.
seeing the golden. I'm starting to see a little light at the end of the tunnel.
Now, are you going to stay working on airplanes?
I'm hoping
You have
to.
all these qualifications
Yes.
that are worth like
I hope
$10
to.
billion.
all the schools they said
If
this
only.
too.
If only that were true.
I have a binder called my I Love Me binder with so many school certs and different.
Yeah.
But for
classes
stuff
and
for
courses,
technical
so.
job,
Yeah.
guys like that, they want to see, do you do this, do you do that?
There is a weird
Yes,
thing
yes.
out in the civilian world. They have what's called an A&P license, right?
Yes.
And so you have to also do the power plant stuff.
Yeah.
So as an airframer, because I thought about this, Jill will tell you, we spent a bunch of years thinking I was going to go be an A&P mechanic. But there's a bunch of learning you have to do once you're done because you have to get all the PowerPoints
Yeah.
or PowerPoint. There's the
That's
Intel
it.
guy coming out.
That's
The
my
power
PowerPoint.
plant stuff added on as well, so you got to be able to work
Yeah.
on engines and airframes at the same time.
Yeah.
So
So,
The civilian sector is different, and they pay more for those qualifications,
Sure.
CDI, CDQ. So
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I hope to stay here in Jacksonville. Actually,
is that right?
Yeah, my wife is. She's not born and raised here, but she's a military brat as well, and she's kind of been in and out of Jacksonville the whole time. And then we've been married almost 17 years, and we've been minus going to Okinawa and deploying out of here. I've only been stationed here.
Yeah.
I was fortunate not to have to rotate a lot.
Mhm.
Thank you to the Marine Corps gods for not sending me and my family. For those who do it, I greatly respect you and
Yeah.
have a lot of, but I've just been kind of here. So we kind of like it here in Jacksonville.
Good.
It's not bad. You're kind of centralized. So I
Yeah.
want to stay here and work on New River.
and
Good.
then
We've had guys on the show who did that. Doki did that.
Yeah.
Retired as a gunny.
Yeah.
He was a door gunner on 53s, and obviously that's not all he did. He was also a mech.
Yeah.
Walked out on a Friday and on a Monday.
Yep.
yeah,
We had that happen. I had a
Yeah.
Marine I worked with in the quality assurance shop. He, on Friday, was his last day of shaving, got his DD-214, and came back Monday and was like, I didn't shave yesterday or the day before. And I was like, and he grew out the beard and got a great job and loved it. And I was like, that's crazy. Your desk, you literally never even had to pack up what you had at your desk. Like the same sticky note you wrote on Friday was there Monday. Instead of you being staff sergeant so-and-so, you're now Mr. so-and-so.
Yeah.
that's the dream, though, isn't it?
So,
It is, but I know a lot of guys. My brother did it,
Yeah.
and Trainwreck from the club did it too.
Yeah.
Now he looks like he's Mohammed trained, right? Because his beard's like
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But same thing. Walked out on Friday, and walked right back in, doing the same stuff on the air station.
Companies are smart to hire former.
Sure, why wouldn't you?
Because you instead of having to send them off to all that training, they already have it. And then
Yeah.
especially people like myself, I have a passion for it. I actually love working on aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things I think I can, as the old Mike Rowe says, don't follow your passion. Well, my passion happens to be I like to turn a wrench. So if I can stay
Life
turning
is
a
good.
wrench and doing it, then I'm happy.
That's
you know?
one of your passions. You got another one.
I
I
do have
saw
another
your
passion,
sweatshirt today.
Yeah,
Let's
I play
talk
a
about
little drums.
Yeah, let's talk
Tell us
about
about
Freeway,
that.
man.
So
How'd that all come about?
I've been with the band Freeway now for almost 4 years, actually, coming up this May.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think it's been that long, but
Yeah. Cover band?
we are a local cover band here in
Yeah.
Eastern North Carolina. We have a couple original songs that we play,
Sweet.
but we go out and play as we joke, we're the background music, as my bass player Wolfie would say. But when you go to places, it's not the background music because once everyone gets into it, we start playing those dance tunes and they get out there. So. Yeah, it's been fun playing with them. I love playing drums. I've been a drummer since I was a kid. My father was a drummer, and both of my twin boys are drummers. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, we all gravitated to it. And I didn't teach my boys how to be drummers. They just kind of, just like my father
They were
didn't teach me,
Yeah.
it's just natural.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Yeah.
something in the brain. So
That's awesome. man.
Excellent.
I had something and I lost it. That's what happens when you get old.
AIDS. You don't have AIDS?
I don't.
Huh.
Not that I know of. I think they're supposed to put little red tabs on your ears.
I'll say that one's an acronym, but I won't use that
Oh,
acronym.
yeah. That's terrible. Something with the band, but I can't remember what it was. Oh well, that's cool.
Well, maybe you could tell us where you're playing soon for our local audience.
Yeah, December 4th, we will be here in Jacksonville at the Angry Ginger playing for the Toys for Tots show.
Oh,
It's a free show, no cover to come in, just
Yeah.
bring an unwrapped gift.
Yeah.
we go to
when
Angry
you
Ginger
come in.
fairly regularly.
Oh yeah.
And then again, we will be playing at the Angry Ginger for the New Year's Eve party out in their pavilion. That's a big, good time.
Oh,
to come
really?
out to.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So,
If we're in town, we may do that.
Yeah. And they're
It's
really
always
good,
fun.
actually.
I may be stuck in Michiganistan. I
Oh,
don't know
boy.
yet.
Yeah. Sorry
One-
about that.
one thing about the band that everyone kind of loves, minus our lead singer, God bless him, we love him. We still say he served just because he deals with all of us every day. But the band is comprised of former and retired Marines.
Is that right?
So
That's hilarious.
At almost 37 years old, I'm the youngest guy in the band, and
That's
these guys are like,
funny.
"Why do you hang out with us?" I'm like, "Because the music we play is what I grew up on, and I love it."
Nice.
Yes.
So,
I remember what it was.
Okay.
Finally. Sorry about that. I mean, we say this all the time, but it's the Marine Corps is filled with such an interesting group of people,
Mhm.
right? And when you see like the span of talent,
Yeah.
it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Man. You know what I mean? And to watch you play, I've gone out and watched you play a few times, and it's fun, man. It's fun to see that creative spark.
Yeah.
It translates back and forth. So
Mhm.
if you're like a artsy, creative person, you're like, I will never make it in the Marine Corps. Those people are savages. You'd be surprised.
You'd be
man.
surprised.
Yeah.
You'd be wildly surprised at the level of talent and creativity you
And
find
the
in the Marine Corps.
diversity of creative
Yeah.
interests
Yeah.
that I've seen. Some
True diversity.
yoked up, tatted up lunatic,
Yeah.
and you find out he paints.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Gunny so and so paints?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With what?
His penis.
Maybe.
well, you meet some, and you're like, "Oh, that guy's got to be like an operator," and he's like, "Oh, actually, I'm IT support," and I'm like, "Dude, that's awesome." I mean, if there's a fight, I'm glad you're on my team. You're a big guy. So,
That is fun.
also, hey, my printer's not working. So can you help me out?
While you're here.
So true, man. Well, Joe, thanks for coming out, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate
Good
y'all
to have-
having
Thank
me,
you, Joe.
gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, you
It's a
too.
little, after Veterans Day. So.
Yeah.